going on, guys? I hope that you're all having a wonderful day today. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Ty, and today in this video, we're going to be talking about live-action remakes and their impact on the film industry. Are they a net positive or a net negative for the industry as a whole, for the movie business? I feel like on both sides of things, there's a lot of arguments, and that's what I really want to dive into here today, because it feels like as of recently, these live-action remakes have just been becoming more and more popular, with the main catalyst, of course, being Disney. They're the ones that are making a lot of live-action remakes based off of their classic animated films. Now listen, I think it's best if we just start off with either, the pros or the cons, that we could really split up the argument here, because in my opinion, and I'm just going to kind of, set things straight here, I think that live-action remakes are a net negative. I want to start off with that, okay? My personal take is that they are a net negative. I will get into why that is in a second here, but let's start off with the pros, okay? What are the pros of live-action remakes? What do they bring to the table when people are going to the theaters? First of all, you're able to retell a classic story in a different art form, from a different perspective, because for the most part, it's not like these live-action remakes are like a shot-for-shot remake. They are literally the same exact film with the same exact script, just remade in live action. No, they're technically a different movie, but they are telling the same exact story with the same characters. But now that it's in live action, as humans, we're technically able to, I guess you could say, relate to live action characters a little bit more than animated characters. And don't get me wrong, they're pretty much even. But I'm just saying, since we're looking at other real humans, I think it just does something in your brain to where it's like, oh, I'm able to kind of understand this and process this a bit better. Even though I absolutely love animated films, I'm just saying that's what I'm talking about when I say from a different perspective, that's how we're watching this story. Another thing is that in the same aspect, there's a new generation of kids now. Don't get me wrong, a movie that came out in 2004, let's just talk about like Lilo and Stitch, because that is a live action remake coming out next year. That movie is on Disney Plus, right? But at the same time, no one really talks about it as much, as popular as it is, because of the simple fact that it's a 20-year-old movie. And again, it's popular, it is relevant in pop culture, but by re-releasing a new rendition of this film, you're kind of bringing its popularity back again, and you're able to show kids in the theater so that they could have their own experiences that people from 20 years ago had. They could have their own theater experiences, and they could get some nostalgia for the same Disney stories, but in a different fashion. I think that's a good idea. The third pro that I have, and I think that this is a big one, because regardless of whether you like or dislike these films, we can all agree that live action remakes are good for movie theaters. Almost all of these live action remakes, especially the Disney ones, make a lot of money. And at the end of the day, if we want to keep the movie theaters alive, because in the past few years, especially with the pandemic, movie theaters have been struggling, whether it's AMC, Cinemark, you name it, it's been struggling. Local mom and pop shop type of theaters, more private theaters, they're struggling. It's not exactly the most lucrative business. So when, some of these live action remakes are making a lot of money, the theaters are naturally going to get a cut from that. When The Lion King movie, the remake from 2019, becomes the highest grossing animated film ever until Inside Out 2 passed it, up until that point in time, the theaters were able to make a lot of money off of it just to keep things flowing, because as the theaters, become more and more healthy, as they're able to, continue to run their business model, that means that they could risk to show some smaller, more independent films and some other movies that maybe they won't make as much money off of, but they're able to have that opportunity to play them in their theaters because they made so much money off of the other theaters. So what I'm trying to say is, it's good for consumers because it's a really simple, easy watch. It's good for, the younger generation because they're able to revisit the stories that we're nostalgic for, but just in a different light. And also, I think, undeniably, it's awesome for the movie theater business because in reality, they're very profitable for both the studios and the theaters. So again, you're keeping the theaters alive so that, like I already mentioned, they can give more opportunities to smaller films to show, more independent films. Even distributors like A24, they're very big, don't get me wrong, but they are not even close to being on the same level as, a Disney, a Warner Brothers. So when they're keeping the movie business alive, it makes A24 be able to flourish and put out those Oscar-worthy movies, those incredible films. It keeps the theater business healthy. But at the same time, there are two sides to the same coin, so I want to talk about the cons that, in my opinion, sort of outweigh the pros, if I'm going to be real with you. Let's just start off with the first one. These movies, and I hate to say this, right, because all art in some way can be appreciated, but these movies are what most people would define as slop or content. It's basically just this content that these studios are pumping out just to make money. They could not care less about how good these films actually are from an artistic standpoint, from a directorial standpoint, from an acting standpoint. They don't care. They're telling you guys, hey, look at us. We're literally just remaking this same movie because it's already super lazy in another art form, and we're putting it out to theaters, and it's going to make $1 billion. Now, see, I already talked about how it's a pro that the movie theaters are able to make a lot of money off this because of the fact that, they kind of struggle, right? The studios, for the most part, they really don't struggle, especially the big dogs like Disney or Warner Brothers. So when they see, oh my god, the live action remake just made a lot of money, let's make a Moana remake, let's make a live action Lilo and Stitch remake, let's just do it all, because why not? It's going to make us money. But from a creative standpoint, it's lazy. And from there, I feel like for the most part, in reality, I'm talking about Disney and Warner Brothers here. When it comes to Disney and Warner Brothers, the more live action remakes you make, technically, the less opportunities that you have to make new films. Because let's just say that Disney, and I'm just completely making up a number, puts out 5 films a year. They don't, but I'm just saying, just for argument's sake, 5 films a year. And 2 or 3 of those are live action remakes. That means that you only have 2 or 3 other slots for new films, your opportunity to start a new franchise, because I'm not talking about sequels today, just live action remakes. That really takes away from the creative process that a lot of your writers and, people that are more like you and me that are just kind of, average job type of people that work at Pixar, that work at Disney, that work at Warner Bros., they're not getting to really go out and express their creative freedom, create a Zootopia, even create the next Moana or the next Inside Out or the next How to Train Your Dragon, because we're also getting a remake for that. A lot of these are literally just to make profit for the studios. And listen, one thing I do want to say, and again, I know that I said, it's all about opportunities, taking away opportunities even. Every single movie that has ever been made in the history of cinema has been made to make a profit. Don't get me wrong. Studios aren't just like, wow, wouldn't it be really fun if we made Inside Out 2? No, they recognize how much money Inside Out made. They said, we're going to make it Inside Out 2. But they actually made a good film. Even just any other film, literally any movie that releases in theaters, it's an investment that's meant to make money. But there can still be an artistic merit and a creative merit that a film can have, because you can get a talented director that really wants to show off this script that maybe they even wrote themselves, and it will pay off. But you're not able to tell these creative stories when you're taking up that space with live action remakes. And another thing, kind of tying it into the money, these films are just advertisements. And I think that the worst example of this is the How to Train Your Dragon live action remake. I watched the trailer. I thought it looked pretty cool. But there's one issue that's just making my eye twitch a little bit. For those of you that don't know, next year, Universal's opening up their next park in Orlando, Florida called Epic Universe. I myself could not be more excited. I'm a very big theme park guy. I don't talk about it too much on the channel, but either way. And in that land, in this new park, they're opening up a little section that's How to Train Your Dragon themed. So while there are people that do enjoy the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, right? There's 3 movies, an entire trilogy. How do you get them excited again? How do you get it more relevant and put it back into the zeitgeist again? By releasing the movie again, but in a different form. This movie comes out next June. This park opens in like May or June or July. That's very obvious advertising. And in the same sense, on the other side of the fence with Disney, that actually kind of rhymed, but they've been implementing way more Moana things into their parks. So what do they want to do? Make a sequel, and then what do they want to do to just really milk the cash cow as much as they can? Make a live action remake of a movie that's not even 10 years old. It's so obvious that there's no creative merit. Whenever a director is chosen for these films, it's so clear, and this is an example that I came up with before, that they are literally just a substitute teacher, okay? The teacher already made the curriculum, right? But now the teacher can't be there. So the substitute teacher comes in and just reads what the teacher planned for them, and then they just tell the students what the teacher already did, but just in a different way because they're a different person. They're kind of just like a stand-in manager, like we're working at a fast food restaurant, just to try to, handle business, make the film as fine as possible so that it looks like the original film, it has gags, the kids will like it, but there's no real creative merit. I look at Barry Jenkins, who's the director that's making the upcoming Mufasa, prequel, remake, live action thing, whatever you want to call it, and this is the thing. He made Moonlight. It won Best Picture in 2017 at the Oscars, okay? This guy is unbelievably talented. Moonlight is incredible. And then I see him doing some slop like this, and I'm just like, man, what are you doing? The thing is, it's so obvious that these studios want to make these films as safe as possible, so they just pump as much money into them as they can. That's why the budgets tend to be so big. These live-action remakes always have like $250 million budgets. That's why the CGI always looks so crisp and clean. Even if it's for the worst, it's just the point. So they want to give these directors a lot of money. They want to get as many names in there with big actors and stuff, but it doesn't end up being a good film. It's taking away opportunities from other films, and even these big studios, which I still do respect, because at the end of the day, Disney's given us some of the most classic films of all time. Warner Brothers, Universal, they've all done it. But it's the point that it's like they're kind of just stopping now, and they're like, you know what, guys? The job's done. We made our classic films. Let's just keep remaking them and keep milking the cow until there's nothing left. So on one side, it's helping out the theaters, it's giving kids, a new experience, but on the other side, it's so creatively bankrupt, and I'd argue embarrassing for the studios that they keep making them over and over again. Am I gonna be there in the theaters to watch them? Yeah, because I have a YouTube channel to review them. But listen, that's just my opinion, because I can totally understand why you might be excited for the Lilo and Stitch movie if, you loved the original. I love the original. So I don't want to rain on your parade. I hope that you guys enjoy it. But that's going to just about do it for this video today. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think about live action remakes. Are they good? Are they bad? What's your opinion on them? What's your favorite and what's your least favorite as well? That's going to just about do it for this video, though. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.